Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shah, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shah, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shah, Call Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Raha Kadash, double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered across the four winds. This is your brother Yakar Aben from Great Millstone, Houston, and I just wanted to go into, marriage. Somebody had asked me about marriage and said that some group, I believe it's IUIC, that was talking about sex and marriage, and I tried to explain to them that you know sex is marriage. When our tradition is that when the tokens of a lady's virginity, uh, I don't know if people know what that is, but the tokens of virginity are when the bride and the groom go into the wedding chamber, and the husband uh, goes into the woman and cuts her. So when that essentially that's the marriage. That is the marriage when a man goes into a woman, and then her being a virgin, you know, a true virgin, not a woman of a young woman of marriageable age, but a real virgin, a pure. I can't. I keep getting those words mixed up. Baswalo and Ailama. Let me, uh, let's look that up. Um, Khan. This is it says Genesis 24:16. It says, and the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her, and she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. So that virgin is untouched. Bothwallow H1330, and the other one is Ilama. Listen, and for his sister, let's go to Isaiah. Ilama, a young woman of marriageable age, right? So, and that's Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14 says, before, therefore, Yahweh himself gave a sign, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel. So this is talking about a woman of marriageable age. But anyway, when a woman is a virgin and a man goes into her, then he cuts her. He breaks her hymen, if I'm pronouncing that right. So when he breaks her hymen, she bleeds, and those are the tokens of her virginity, and that's what the bride and the groom have to give that to the bride's parents, so they can present them, in the event that he says, well, nah, she wasn't pure, because in Israel, you know uh, that is a woman is bound to her husband as long as he lived, but a man, you know it is not a custom for a man to go into a woman that's already been with another man, and because that's adultery. Adultery is when a man goes into a woman that's married. But okay, so in today's time, marriage has been taught that it's agreement with the government, and this is simply not. It's not true. You know, in in the Hebrew Israel, in the customs of the Lord, was that when a man goes into a woman, then she becomes his wife. We're gonna get a couple of accounts of that. This is Genesis chapter 16, starting at verse 1. And this is now Sarah, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said unto Abram, Behold, now Yahweh by Shem Yahushua hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid, and it may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. And Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. Okay. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Okay, but this right here is, there wasn't no ceremony. There wasn't no agreement made with the government. That's just some a tactic to get money, a tactic to just to get money. A false doctrine. When a man goes into a woman, and that woman is supposed to be a virgin, and when he cuts her, with his penis, then that is a contract that they are bound together. They're bound together for life. And this is the custom of the Israelites. It doesn't have to do with going down to the courthouse and going in front of a judge and getting in front of the judge. And yes, in Israel, yes, we've had all kinds of ceremonies. We had ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, where that was a big thing. It was a very big thing. But that is not the marriage. That is just letting the essentially that's letting the congregation or the people know that this woman is no longer, that she's taken. She's no longer, in her father's household. She has become another, a man's wife. And this is the marriage is actually the contract, the cutting, the cutting of the woman. And there's another example here. This is Genesis chapter 24 and verse 67. And it says, And Isaac brought her into his tent, Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So, Isaac took Rebekah. And what is that? That's H3947. It says la hach, to fetch, to take, to carry along, to take from, take out, to take, carry, to procure, select, take in marriage. So we know what it means. He took her, he seized her, and these are the things. This is a marriage, in Western society. That's why the Lord said this is an adulterous generation, because women have been taught that they can go out and play the harlot, and then when they're finished with that, then they can settle down and be somebody's wife. No, that's not how it works. When you make that contract, that cutting, that binds you to that man, for as long as you live. Let's get that. What's that? Romans 7. Hold on. Romans chapter 7 and 1. It says, Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law hath dominion over a man as long as he liveth. For the woman which hath a husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. For so so then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. And that explains it at all. And that in itself is, that is the law for a woman. A man is perfectly fine for a man to have multiple wives. It's perfectly fine for a man to have, just like Abram, the father of our faith. I mean, we just got it in Genesis 16. So he was married to Sarah because she was his kin, and yet he was married to Hagar, but that's a lesser wife. She was a concubine, essentially, because she was a Canaanite. She was not of his nation, because we're not supposed to marry, women outside of our nation. We can have them as concubines, but as far as marrying them, no, that's a no no. That's a no no in Israel. But let's uh let's get that. And I mean, this is just a quick lesson to explain it. Where is that? No, no, we get it in the law. Come on now. We're gonna get it. This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, starting at verse 13. It says, "If any man take a wife and go into her and hate her, and give occasions or of speech against her, or bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid." So let's look that up. Baswala, found her not a virgin. H1331. Okay. And it says, "Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city and the gate." So this was a custom. This was a custom. If a man take a wife and go into her and hate her, this was in the event that a man was just, you know how Jake do. You know how Jake do. But anyway, if he said, nah, she's not, she's not a virgin. She was not a virgin when I went unto her, you know, and that this is what the law says that we're supposed to do. Meaning showing that in Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that you know we're sons of the Most High. We're sons of Yahweh and brothers. I mean, brothers and sisters to Yahweh Shah. We're sons of the King. So we're not like these heathens. We can't be harlots and all of this. As it stands now, we're a destroyed people. If you go into Deuteronomy chapter 28, yeah, we're destroyed, and we're destroyed for lack of knowledge as well, because we've been taught these Western ways, and the Lord turned His back on us. But as it stands now, the Lord is shining His light on us. You know, Yahweh Shah is shining His light, so now we can understand who we are in these times, that we are the people of the Bible, and we're supposed to look. Let's get it. Jeremiah. Oh, come on now. God, this is Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16. Thus saith Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, stand ye in the ways and see, and as for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. But yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. We're coming back to our heritage and understanding who we are, and that comes with these laws, statutes, and commandments. So it says Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 15, it says, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. And lo, he have given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, a virgin, baswallow, bas Bath Wallow, Walyum, Bath Walayum, plural. Yeah. But anyway, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the city of the elders. So, yeah, this is, so she had to be a virgin when the man goes into her, and that's the marriage. Yes, that is the marriage. The marriage is when the man goes into the woman and cuts her. She, she's bound to that man, and that's a blood contract. That is a blood contract. And it says, and the elders of the city shall take the man and chastise him. Let's get that. Chastise, chasten, admonish, discipline. Yasar, Yasar. H3256. To discipline him, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he have brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. Bathwala, Bathwala, Bathwalayum. That's made Bathwalayum. And it says, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife, and he may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, so if she's actually not a virgin, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her with stones, that she die, because she have wrought folly in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house. So shall they put evil away from among you. So, you know, in the event, like all of these women out here want to go and, go and play the whore, this is what's supposed to happen to them. But I mean, this lesson is not about that. But this is what's supposed to happen to them. This is our heritage. Then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her with stones, that she die. Now, who gonna be out here doing all of this? If you see your best friend down the street, little girl, 12, 14 years old, they take her out of her daddy's house and stone her, throw stones at her until she die, because she was out here, being a little fast ass. Con. But I mean, yeah, so this is, you know, these this is our heritage. This is our heritage, and this is what we need to come back to. Like I said, we are our princes of the power, Yasha Allah. We are princes of the Most High God. Yahweh, why Yahweh Shah. So, we need to act as such. And getting back into our heritage and knowing these things, we're in an adulterous generation. This is, like I said, the Lord said it. This is an adulterous generation because you can't find a Baswala. But anyway, that is marriage, and it doesn't have to do with going to the courthouse, and that's wicked. But let me get this, that same group says that you're supposed to divorce your wife in the event that she's an unbeliever. But the Lord was dealing with Paul. Let's get this. It says all scripture. This is Second Timothy chapter 3 and verse 16. It says all scripture is given by the inspiration of the Most High, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. Let's get that. Okay, so we got groups that say that they don't ascribe to Paul's writings, but Paul was a chosen vessel, according to, what was that, Acts chapter 9? Yeah, let's look at. Oh, Slacky. Hmm. Con. It says, this is Acts chapter 9 and verse 12, and it says, let's start at 11. And the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and he hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hands on him that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he have done to thy saints in Jerusalem, and he hath and he and here he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, go thy way, he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. But okay, so you know, getting back to the point, this is Paul saying, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 11. It says, let's get started now. No, 8. 1 Corinthians 7 and 8. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it's better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, let not the wife depart from her husband. But, and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord, if any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath a husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. So, you're not supposed to, if you have an unbelieving wife, you're not supposed to put her away. If you have an unbelieving husband, you're not supposed to put them away. that's wickedness because, as we read in Romans 7, the woman is bound, those that know the law, the woman is bound to that husband as long as he liveth, you know. But that being said, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Raha Kadash. Double honors to our elders and apostles, the Great Millstone, and double honors to the men that taught our elders and apostles. Hopefully, this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect. Shalom.